What's going on, fishy friends? I got my co-host filling my beer up. We've been having some technical difficulties tonight, so we have a few small challenges. But I'm super excited that we have a new fishing report from a new region to bring in tonight. It is we got Mr. Craig Cropper. Some of you guys might know him as Craig Big Bird Cropper. He is the inventor of the Roy rig. I remember hearing about the Roy rig a long time ago, and never would have I have thought that I would have crossed paths and had the inventor of the Roy rig on our show, the Fishing Channel. I mean, let's be honest. If you talked to me 2 years ago and told me I was going to be in front of this cool looking set and that the Fishing Channel would have come so far, I would have been really surprised. Before we bring Big Bird in, another region that we're adding. So we have a very diverse fishing report group, and those captains and fishermen range from Baltimore all the way down to Cape Coral in Florida. However, we try to keep on top of the reports that we're hearing you guys want. So right now in the Bay Area, on the Chesapeake Bay Area, we have an upper bay, a middle bay, a lower bay. Now we're adding Ocean City with Big Bird here. And we have an Eastern Shore report with Kaz Kenny. What we're adding as well, and I think you guys are going to be excited about this, is a Western Shore snakehead report with your man, Stephen Cambo Trout Camboris. And we're psyched to have that happening. I believe that is starting next Tuesday. Stay posted for that. But without further ado, let's bring in the king of the Roy rig, Mr. Big Bird. How you doing, sir?
Oh, loving life. Loving life.
How are you tonight?
Oh, real good. Well, here in Ocean City, every weekend is another party, and of course, this week's bike week. I've got company in town from Germany, and we've been out riding bikes all day, just having fun. Not no fishing today, but.
So, Big Bird, you stay pretty busy. I mean, you fish a lot, right? How often do you think you get out in the water?
Oh, 20 times a month. I mean, I stay out on the water as much as I can. I do, like I said, a lot of fishing. I did over 100 and some trips last year. So
you got that. You're a big time biker, and you run you have a bar. Is that correct?
Well, it's just the end of my house. There's a bar. Like I said, I've got company in town now. They're all. Next time we do this, I'll be sitting at the bar most likely. But friends of mine are here for the bike. Like I said, I got tents in the yard and people are hanging out and riding their motorcycles. Here in Ocean City, it's like this weekend's the bike week. Next weekend's the hot rod. Every weekend it's something. So,
well, it's funny how these worlds collide. As I mentioned before I brought you in, that I had heard of the Roy rig. I mean, gosh, before I even moved to this region, a long time ago. And Bob Pino from Hook Optics reached out to me. Actually, I was in one of his shops, and there's a picture of you on the wall, and I was like, "Who's that guy? I want to meet that guy." And he's like, "That's Big Bird. You got to have him on your show." And,
man, I appreciate it. I was with Bob last night at the Atlantic Coast Sportsmen's Association meeting. He was doing a thing about his glasses and stuff, which my sunglasses are his make, and you can Hooked Optics, when you get them done, you can see through the water a lot better. I mean,
oh my God, they're really nice, aren't they?
Yep. Oh yeah, love them.
But no, I just think it's funny that he recommended me to bring you on the show, and I don't know how far back you've watched the show, but it used to be behind the bar in the house that I used to live in. So I used, it's just like funny how worlds collide like that. But Big Bird, tell me about the Roy rig.
Well, I traveled, like I said, I used to long distance motorcycle ride. And when I was down in Florida and other places, I got to know some of the professional bass fishermen and stuff. And I learned, and I took a lot of the freshwater techniques and brought it to saltwater. Well, the main thing I did was I found a rip-tide salt and pepper grub. That's what I used for my tail of the Roy rig. And every 1 ounce hook that I found had a long shank hook in it. So the main thing I did was short shank a 1 ounce hook, and it gave that riptide body so much movement that it really paid off. And I was getting into magazines so much, the Coastal Fisherman magazine around here, and I've done over 100 and some television shows with Hooked on OC and Outdoors Del Mar, featuring the Roy rig, because for some reason it works. And I mean, I've got other products I'm putting out too, and I won't put them out until I guarantee it works. And that's why, like you said, you heard of the Roy rig before, because I made sure it works before. And sure,
I heard of the Roy rig before I even moved to the DMV region.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I was living in, to give you an idea, I was living in Chicago when I'd heard of the Roy rig.
Well, thank you.
We got a question coming in. It's kind of like the question I just asked, but he goes into a little bit more detail, so I think it's worth popping up here.
Yeah.
Our buddy Carl asked, I'll break the question, Ice. How did the Roy rig come about? But specifically what he's asking is, where'd you get the name?
I got the name because before I even owned a boat, we used to shoreline fish in a place down here in Ocean City called Stinky Beach. It's where the fish cannery is. And that's my beagle going off, sorry. But a friend of mine came back from Florida. His name is Roy Van Breckel. We worked together on paving crews and stuff out on the highway. And he showed up with the Riptide tail, which I fell in love with. Back then it was a freshwater product. And Roy brought it out and showed it to me, and here I was burning the hair off a bucktail.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started saying that all the hooks were too long, and then I made 1 ounce with a short shank hook, and it went from there. And I was, like I said, I was getting into paper all the time, and fishermen around here like, "What are you using? What are you using?" And it came to my head, Roy. I mean, I just named it after my buddy because he was the beginning of it.
Yeah. You brought up an interesting point there, Big Bird. And I've noticed this a lot. So I grew up in Georgia, primarily, panfish and largemouth bass fishing, right?
That's right.
And I'll tell you what, I've noticed so many of those freshwater techniques correlate over to saltwater fishing. And so many of them just haven't even, been tried. Right.
Oh,
so
most definitely. I was a big time Lake Okeechobee. I've been all through Georgia fishing and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of those techniques, I mean, Texas rigging for flounder up here. You put a Texas rig on and you're just bottom bouncing some like Berkeley Gulp or something, and it really pays off.
Yeah.
And down there they do it religiously. Using different products, the freshwater products. I'm all the time stabbing myself with hooks because I'm trying to change the freshwater hooks out to the saltwater hooks and trying them.
But I mean, I absolutely. I know that, chatterbaits have done really well for me in salt.
Yep.
I remember one day I used to do a lot of kayak trolling, and I tried everything that I could troll behind that kayak, that all the things that normally works. And I took a spinner bait, like a largemouth bass spinner bait.
Yeah.
And started trolling that behind the boat. And man, if that thing didn't work. We got our buddy Eloy from Cape Coral's Jupiter Kayak Fishing. He asked, just looked you guys up, wonder if they would work for me. Have you used a Roy rig on reds, snook, or tarpon?
Yes. Because I still travel a lot. I do a lot. I go to Daytona Bike Week every year. I haven't missed it since I was 16-year-old. And when I'm down there, I go fishing all over the place. Um, the Roy rig works best when there's a good current. The best I ever did in Florida with it, Lake Okeechobee was boiling over the dikes and the water was flushing out. And I stopped by this one park on the backside of Lake Okeechobee, and I was using my Roy rig in about every cast. I was getting a snook. I've never caught a tarpon, but I've hooked three. I couldn't get it. It was just
That's been a recurring theme on this show. I've noticed a
yep.
lot of hooked tarpons, not a lot of landed tarpons. They've got mouths that are really, really, really hard.
Well, you got to fight them like a trout. I mean, and then South Carolina, I go down there with a buddy of mine in South Carolina, and I've used them down there. We've caught nice red drum down there, but I find that down south they like more of a half ounce or a 3/8 ounce grub heads when you're fishing down there because of the water conditions. Up here, I'm usually fishing around the Route 50 bridge and in the rock piles, casting into the rock piles and retrieving out, which it starts out a little shallow, but then you're pulling it out to 6 to 7 or 8 foot of water with a lot of current. And I do a thing, I call it dead drifting, to where you cast up and you kind of let the current take it away. We got such a current here in Ocean City and a lot of the other, like Indian River Inlet, Oregon Inlet. I go down there fishing it too.
So let's talk about that. I mean, after all, we kind of went into your history a little bit more than we normally would. Normally, we're just going to jump right into, how fishing is in Ocean City.
Yeah.
But let's get into that. What's biting? What's bending a pole? What's pulling that drag right now?
Ocean City is a very seasonal town. You got different runs. Right now, the season's starting to end. The water's cooling up. There's some big, very big bluefish showing up. The flounder like to stack up and head out into the ocean this time of year. Bahia Marina just did have their flounder pounder fishing tournament, and a lot of beautiful flounder were caught. I came in 5th, but I had
4 lucky guys. Then I'll tell you.
Oh, well, there was 3 of us in my boat. My buddy from Germany, Carl, was with us, and Sean, that fishes all my tournaments with me now. Yeah, like I said, we got some nice flounder, but we only had one that really qualified, and it gave us 5th place. But those flounder like to stack up this time of year. The guys on 50 Bridge, jigging them off the bridge, they're doing very good. You can see them they put them on a rope and hang them off the bridge so you can see how many they've caught. And within 2 or 3 more weeks, I say the speckled trout and the red drum start showing up. About October time, like I said, the red drum starts showing up, the trout start showing up, the rockfish it's been a stellar year for rockfish. We've done very good with being able to keep the rockfish here because we have such a weird limit. They got to be from 28 to 35. Well, if it's 35 inch, you better throw it back, really. I mean, it's got to be under 35 and over 28. And getting them in that slot limit's a trick, but
a lot of people are pushing for that slot limit here on the bay. It's interesting enough that you brought up really big bluefish because the last report we had on right before you, Captain Tom Weaver, mentioned catching large bluefish here in the bay, which is kind of an unusual thing. I know your buddy Sean caught quite a good sized bluefish the other day.
38 inch, 15 pounds.
Woo! That's a big old fish.
Yeah. Well, when you get fishing around Ocean City, you got to, like I do, I religiously fish around the 50 Bridge. It's such a great structure, but only one end of the bridge is deep enough to really fish. Them bluefish right now and the rockfish are staying real close to the bottom, about 20 and 30 foot deep. And when I'm fishing the Roy rig and that type of condition, I'll put a 3-ounce sinker, inline sinker with double barrel swivels on it, so it won't put twists in your line when you run it through that type of current and that type of depth of water. And we're hitting them pretty good with that.
So. What's your rod and reel setup for that? So I mean, you're not if you're
I'm a
dropping a 3-ounce sinker on that, you're probably not using your medium light tackle setup, right?
I'm a big fan of Star Rod when it comes to the heavier duty stuff. I'm using a Stellar Light. What's the ounce? I'm not really sure of the ounce weight, but it's a more of a casting rod that I use.
Okay.
Um, to do that type of stuff, and then the line weight when I'm casting with the sinker and the Roy rig, I'm using 30-pound Power Pro with a 30-pound braid. And the other technique that we're doing is your big stretch lures that the guys go out in the ocean and they pull around behind their boat.
All right, I gotta pause you really, really quick
Go ahead.
because we have a question of the night,
Okay.
and you choose the question of the night, and I hope I'm not showing too much favoritism because Carl Ward just asked, "Do you use man's stretch baits much?"
Man, stretch baits, not too much. No, I have used them, yes, but not too much. I have used man's product, yes.
I thought that's what you were referring to with the stretch.
Well, you've got these ones that are actually called stretch 20s and 25s. They're okay, but as soon as you catch 2 or 3 fish on them, they don't run right. And when you're running it through those pillars of the 50 bridge, it's either got to pull straight or you're just going to lose it. They've got a Adams has a product that it holds up better. But I mean, you're risking a $20 rig down there and you're using it as a freshwater jerk bait. You're actually letting it go out as, 50, 75 feet back, and then all of a sudden you're working it in. If the tide's not running hard, I actually put my boat gear and pull it away as Sean is working that lure coming through.
Wow, this
Yeah.
sounds like a type of fishing that you really got to kind of know your territory a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, up
So
here in the city,
we
man,
have
there's
some people watching that
sandbars
are asking
everywhere.
questions, and they may not fish that area. What would a new person fishing that Route 50 bridge,
Mm-hmm.
what would be a piece of advice that you would give them to kind of help them acclimate to that scenario?
Well, what I do is when the current, say, is coming in, I let it push me towards the bridge with my motor at the bridge, facing the bridge, so I can just put it in gear and pull away. And then I drift back. And what we do is we cast underneath the bridge in the shallower parts that's 7 foot, 6 foot deep, and the current's running so hard, you can cast it back there and just put your boat in gear and pull away slow. Instead of reeling in, you're pulling away slowly. And you're I love giving it a good twitch. 2 or 3 cranks of the reel, and then just pop your wrist. Make it look like it just got hit or wounded by another fish.
So how fast are those cranks? Are they this quick or just kind of
Just real slow, like you were doing it, just real
so
slow.
like that, and then
Because
pop, or just one?
got such a current around here. When the current's not running, go flounder fishing. Don't even try rockfish, bluefish, and stuff because I can't seem to get them to bite. But when that current's ripping through there and they're on the other side of the bridge, back feet, waiting for something to swim out to attack. And underneath the bridge, you might be on the outside of the bridge at 7 foot, but there might be a hump or a dip in there. And that's where that fish is going to be sitting, is down in that dip.
We got one more question coming in.
Sure.
Well, actually, we got 2 questions. One is from our buddy D-Train. And then the other one is from Lady C, who's my co-host over here. And her question is not eligible for question of the night. But well, we can't send prizes to ourselves.
I want the suspenders.
D-Train David Hall says, what is the best bait to use when fishing Ocean City, fresh bait or artificial?
I have gave up fresh. I more or less gave up fresh bait, minnows, squid, stuff like that. I've gave that up and totally went artificial. When fishing here in Ocean City, your best live bait is to go out on the surf and dig up what they call sand fleas. The little fleas catch up from rockfish to red drum, to flounder, to the sand flea works very good, and you can go right in the surf and catch them. But with me, I'm all artificial. With flounder, I do like to use Berkeley gulp and bounce it. I mean, I try to teach people if they're trying to learn how to flounder fish, the best thing to do is have a case of Parkinson's. You got to sit there and just keep working that bottom, working it, just twitching it. The guys that really know what they're doing, you'll see them out there just, I mean, it makes them look like they got Parkinson's disease because you're shaking your rod so much, you know.
So Michael J. Fox would be a great flounder fisherman.
I got 180-year-old man. I take him fishing. He's one of the best flounder fishing I know, and he just sits there and lets us. I mean, he just works the rod.
Yeah, we got all right. Yeah, we do have to run. I'm going to jump in real quick because I'm sure you got a short answer for this one. But buddy Sam Tudor asked, "Is Scott Lennox as funny in person as he is on TV?"
Well, around here, we love picking on each other. And yes, Scotty's one of my favorite people to pick on. I got, like I said, next month, I got people that are to be coming down here to go fishing with me from Canada. And he goes, "Do y'all like each other?" I mean, you know, because we're hard around here. We're hard on each other because we're such a tourist town. We'll, right now, we got 500,000 bikers in town. Half of them are sitting in my bar.
Shore Sharp, what's going on, buddy? He says, "I'm late." You have the OC legend, Big Bird. He has a Chincoteague scow. So do I, but I only wish mine caught as many fish as his. And our last question of the night, before you got to choose question of the night, Big Bird.
All right.
Lady C, my co-host, says, "Love the suspenders. Are they approved to be used to measure tournament fish?" LOL. Is there a story behind those suspenders?
Well, I was with the Berlin. I was a volunteer with the Berlin Fire Department. Who nicknamed me Big Bird years ago for a bunch of reasons. All my Harleys are bright John Deere tractor yellow. Once I got the nickname Big Bird, I kind of went with it, and sure enough, I found these yellow suspenders. And if people see the yellow suspenders, they know who they got most of the time. You know, I mean, it's just a calling card. And I travel so much that when people spot me, it's like, "What are you doing down here in South Carolina?" "Well, I'm fishing, man." You know, I'm riding my motorcycle and fishing. They're back in the early 80s. They got pictures of me. I didn't have a boat, but I had my Harley, and I had surf rods off the back of it. And I used to love to walk out to the end of the rock pile in Ocean City when they weren't charging in the parking lot. And I'd be riding home, and there'd be rockfish tails sticking out of the back of my bike and the saddlebags and stuff. So,
well, Shore Sharp, you asked how many trips do you run a year on a scow? Big Bird answered that before. He fishes about 200 times a year. Big Bird.
Yes.
Question of the night. Do you remember who asked the question of the night? Because we got a prize. We're going to do these are darn near dark purple black BKDs and a half-ounce pack of BKD jig heads. What's the question of the night, Big Bird?
What's the question? What? One of the ones that was asked me, or am I asking a question?
No, one of the ones that was asked you.
Oh, shoot. The one where my nickname came from.
That would be let's go back. Or I think it was where the Roy Rig name came from, right?
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Carl Ward. Carl, you're killing us, bro. You've won like, I know we gotta cut this guy off at some point.
Yeah, when you come down to visit, I make sure you bring some Roy Rigs back to give away on your channel.
We definitely will do that. We got several reasons to visit OC now. Carl, we'll be shipping you these prizes in the mail. Big Bird is going to be a regular show. We're going to see him once a month. Big Bird, you want to close us out? Anything?
Hey, I'm just trying to help people catch more fish, man. I love to watch a child to go out and hook that first fish, and I've been blessed to be able to take a lot of people out and catch their first rockfish. Well, my friend from Germany right now, he never caught a rock. He got a 32-incher the other day, and just we're here to help people catch more fish. And if I can help that, and you guys are great doing this for everybody, I'm here to help. So
Hey, well, let's do it. We will see everyone next month. Big Bird, thank you so much. Everyone who logged in, thank you so much. We will see you next time. We got Walleye Pete coming up next. Stay tuned.
Peace.
Young